Reddit. What's the most heartbreaking story from your love life?
When I started high school, I went from one private school to another across town. I didn't know anyone and was pretty alone, didn't have any friends, and I wasn't making any fast. Anyhow, I walked into my homeroom class and saw this absolutely stunning girl across the room. She had this auburn hair that was impossible not to admire. The teacher started assigning seats, and sure enough, he puts her right next to me. I was such an awkward kid. I had no hope that I would ever say more than a word to her. Homeroom was a 15-minute period of announcements and socializing, though. It took her all of 30 seconds to introduce herself to me. Every day, I would look forward to that 15-minute period in which all I would do is sit and talk to this bright-eyed beauty. She was my first real crush, I'd say, and it became pretty apparent that the feeling was mutual. Most days she would grab my hand as soon as I sat down and write some sort of flirty nonsense on it. I loved every second of it. Before I knew it, the homecoming dance was approaching. I'd never been to a dance like that, certainly never asked a girl to a dance, but I made up my mind. I was going to take this girl. Every day, I'd walk into that short period of my day, determined I would ask her to the dance. And every day, I'd chicken out. Then, one day, she asked me who I was going with. I said I didn't know yet, and asked who she was going with. She told me about some other guy who asked her that morning. I felt entirely defeated, but I figured it was a lesson learned, a mistake I would never make again. But that date she went on turned into another date, and then into a relationship. She ended up spending the rest of the year dating that guy. The next year, my dad was laid off, and I had to go off to public school. I did much better in that school. I found a group of friends the first day. I also had a few girls chasing after me, so I must have grown into myself a bit. I still had a lot of friends in private school, and I went to the homecoming dance at that school the following year. She was there, and my heart stopped in its tracks when I saw her. She ran up to me, gave me a big hug, and we spent a good part of the night dancing together. She was single again, and came to the dance on her own as well. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but I figured I would be sure to get her phone number or something, and maybe get together with her. Toward the end of the night, though, she went to talk to some friends, and I went with mine. I turned around, she was gone. No idea where. A few weeks later, a friend of mine told me that she'd asked about me. But by then, one of the girls who was chasing me had caught me, and I'd be in that relationship for a solid 2 years. 3 years later, I'm single again and in college. I'm driving down the freeway in a snowstorm with a friend, and a car spins out in front of me, flipping into the ditch. I stop to go see if the driver is okay, and call for help. As I walk up to the car, I see that bright auburn hair that stopped my heart 4 years earlier, draped over the steering wheel. Sure enough, it was her. I know that since this is a heartbreaking thread, you've probably got an idea of where this is going. But don't worry, you're wrong. She came to as soon as I walked up, and it turned out she wasn't hurt too bad. She had a concussion and a few bumps and bruises, but altogether not in bad shape. I helped her out of her car, and she came and sat with me in mine while we waited for the cops/ambulance to come. We talked a little bit. She was in a bit of a daze. Then, the ambulance showed up, whisked her away, and before I knew it, I was standing in the snow by myself, then telling a state trooper what happened. I didn't see her for another 2 years. The next time, it was in a grocery store. I saw her, and immediately noticed a gigantic diamond on her finger. For whatever reason, I didn't say anything to her that time. We'd run into each other maybe 4 or 5 years later, both of us with babies in our arms. Nothing ever happened between us, and I know it's not as bad as it could be. It's more of a story of what felt like fate constantly pushing two people together, and nature/circumstance pushing them apart. And while I don't regret where my life has gone, I'll always wonder what would have happened if I would have mustered up the courage to ask her to that dance.